There are many different paths and texts that turn people into readers, not just school's path. This is why John preferred to refer to his work as unschooling, to describe learning that doesn't have to take place in school or at home and does not resemble school learning. Homeschooling has become the default word that captures many forms of learning without attending school. John often used unschooling and homeschooling interchangeably in his talks and writing, but it is clear that duplicating school at home is not what John meant when he used the word homeschooling. John started out as a typical school reformer, inventing clever ways of presenting curricular material to his classes, using alternative assessments and giving his students as much choice and freedom as he could in school. With each book he wrote, he moved further away from reforming school and towards reforming society, to be more welcoming of children. He eventually described his work as reintegrating children into daily life and adult society, as they were until the rise of compulsory schooling placed them in an educational silo. In the first 1981 edition of Teach Your Own, he wrote, "We who believe that children want to learn about the world are good at it and can be trusted to do it with very little adult coercion or interference, probably no more than 1% of the population, if that. And we are not likely to become the majority in my lifetime. This doesn't trouble me much anymore as long as this minority keeps on growing. My work is to help it grow." Published 40 years ago and never out of print, Teach Your Own encourages us to rethink how children learn and grow in our society, and in doing so to reframe education as a communal, social endeavor that supports families and individuals through school and community resources. Taking a more cooperative stance with families who want to be with their children during school hours, educators and parents can see how different learning schedules can be leveraged instead of viewed as outliers to be banished from the enterprise of education. Not everyone can or wants to homeschool, but the new combinations of learning at home, in school, and in one's community open new opportunities for everyone's learning. The variety of educational paths homeschoolers have forged in terms of finding work worth doing, gaining college admissions, and becoming responsible citizens are noteworthy. So what learning is lost by not attending school? So far, the research on learning loss during the pandemic confirms what we already know from other studies of test scores. The poorest school districts and families are the most negatively affected, and the wealthier ones are stable or thriving. The solutions proposed are more intensive tutoring and schooling during vacation breaks to make up for the lost learning time. But learning is not internalized simply by attending more classes and taking more tests. The basis for the claim that school learning can be lost and must be replaced as soon as possible is based on research about summer learning loss, which is used as the basis for determining pandemic learning loss. Education writer Alfie Kohn notes that the evidence for summer learning loss is much less persuasive than people realize, and none of the research on this topic actually shows a diminution in learning, just a drop in standardized test scores in some subjects, in some situations, for some kids. Dr. Peter Gray examined the studies about summer learning loss and discovered some interesting data regarding reading and math. Dr. Gray writes, "Although the results are somewhat inconsistent from study to study, most studies show either no significant change or an average increase in reading ability. Some studies of students' summer slide broke out two types of math abilities, math calculation and math reasoning. Gray points out that math calculations are typically learned by rote, and hardly anyone does such calculations outside of school. We all have calculators of computers. Math reasoning is about children's understanding of math concepts and their ability to use those concepts to solve problems. Indeed, the scores for calculation went down over the summer, but the scores for reasoning went up. Maybe instead of expanding the school year to reduce a summer slide in calculation, we should expand summer vacation to reduce the school year slide in reasoning. Learning loss can be recovered more quickly than we think. Many parents learn this lesson when they start homeschooling, usually when they must relearn something they could do in school, such as how to multiply and divide improper fractions, but haven't done since. Later in this book, you will see how this is a common technique in homeschooling. Learning alongside children rather than always directly instructing. This models for children how we actively learn rather than how we passively receive instruction. Since learning is typically iterative and cumulative over time, it is rarely a one and done.